Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you were here for my inaugural video, March of Therapods. This is part 2. We will continue on our look at PNSO Therapods, our first offering. We showed the models of theropod dinosaurs that belong to the Megalosaur family, the Allosaur family, and the Spinosaur family, and Qianzhousaurus family, and what have you. Today we will focus on all things Tyrannosaur. So PNSO has had a few Tyrannosaur offerings. They've had Tyrannosaurus Rex itself 4 times, if I'm not mistaken. Name of Wilson. We'll get to that by video's end. We're going to wrap up with the big bad himself, Tyrannosaurus Rex. But there were like 3 different iterations of Wilson. Prior to, there was a museum line that I believe came out twice, and then they came out with the same model, different paint apps, as a standard prehistoric animal line. And then less than a year later, they came out with Wilson 2.0, aka Winter Wilson, which you see off to our right there. Like I said, we'll get to that by video's end. So they've had a few other Tyrannosaurus Rexes. They've had a female and Andrea, which was a sitting T-Rex. I do not have that. I wasn't really interested in getting that. At least at the time. Who knows if I change my mind in the future, but for right now I'm not with it, so it is what it is. What you see here, we've got 5 models, and we've got one, the closest one that you see off to our left there, very controversial, which we'll talk about later on in the video. But for now, we're going to kick things off. We're going to go to China. First up to bat, we have Yutyrannus, which stands for feathered tyrant. And obviously you could see just from this model that this particular dinosaur, this Tyrannosaurid, is laced with feathers. It has the distinction also of being the largest slash heaviest known theropod to be feathered. So it does have that distinction. It was in the early Cretaceous, northeastern China. It grew to about 29.5 feet long, so definitely a sizable critter right there, rivaling like Allosaurus in terms of size, which is quite impressive. You know, this is a Tyrannosaur species, and at nearly 30 feet, it isn't even anywhere near the largest, but still crazy large, in its own right. This model is it measures 10.5 inches from snout to tail, and at the highest point of the tail, what you see is like up, because the pose given to this Yutyrannus has it stalking and kind of sloped over. So that highest point is about 4 inches off the ground. It's classified at 135 scale, so those measurements, 10.5 inches, if you do the calculations at 135, that puts this guy just a little over 30 feet, so it's more or less in scale. So that's pretty cool. I gotta love that. I'm a stickler for my dinos to be in scale, and this definitely meets that grade. So taking a look at it, as always with theropods, it has articulated jaw. The jaw on the Yutyrannus doesn't really extend that wide, but I guess that's pretty good. That's wide enough. It does close pretty decently. You can see all the feathering. Looking at that skull, you can see that both sides of the colors. Pretty cool right there at the top there. Same thing with Tyrannosaurs. You can see binocular vision. So it's pretty cool. Like I say, you got the feathers right there. Very long tail. The tail is actually more than half the length of the rest of the body, but that could be a result of, you know, these the end feathers making it seem that way. You can see as a Tyrannosaur, this particular species had 3 claws on its forelimbs, and PNSO made sure to include the dew claw. So yeah, and as always, they do come with stands. He comes with a stand, but you can see he's standing perfectly well on his own. Very balanced nicely. I've never had an issue with my Yutyrannus falling over ever. So very happy about that. So yeah, that's the PNSO Yutyrannus, who by the way is named Yinqi. So yeah, Yinqi, the Yutyrannus. Next up to bat, keeping it in China, we have A-Shu, the Qianzhousaurus. And I probably butchered that. We'll say it one more time. The Qianzhousaurus, which stands for Qianzhou lizard, which is derived from, I think it's called Gaozu or something like that. That's where the fossils were found in China by workers. And yeah, this critter, you can see it is a Tyrannosaur, but you can see the distinction. The snout is pretty long and narrow, which is very, very unique and uncommon, very atypical of Tyrannosaurids. There are other species of Tyrannosaurs that had long snouts, called Alioramus, and I believe that's like the main, since that was the first one found. Even this guy falls under that heading. Usually the first creature found is that gets the name of the genus or what have you, the subspecies. So yeah, so Qianzhousaurus, initially estimate the average medium-sized dinosaur predator at about 21 feet, but there have been other estimates giving it, putting it at 27 to 30 feet. I couldn't tell you how they came about those newer estimates, but I'll tell you one thing. Those newer estimates make this model more in scale with 135, because this is definitely, if you go by the 21-foot measurement, this critter is definitely out of scale with other 135 scale models. It comes in at, with the way its head is turned, it measured at 9.5, but if you kind of sort of found a way to stretch make it straight, it would have been around an even 10 inches and 4 inches high. That scales out to about 30 feet. So if we go by the later estimates, then A-Shu here is right in scale with everyone else. But if you want to go with the 21-foot motif, then he's definitely too large and out of scale. So fortunately, I get to play the role and go with the 30-foot. So anyway, taking a look at A-Shu, get close up, and you can see once again that snout. Got the articulated jaw, as all Therapods from PNSO have. You can see how narrow the snout is. It's got the ridge crests, as all Tyrannosaurs do, rocking that binocular vision. You can see from that side, this Tyrannosaur has the common two-clawed forelimbs, and as you can see, they're getting shorter. You know how small a Tyrannosaurus Rex's forelimbs are. You can see it has begun the shortening. You've got the nice coloration, and you got the nice long muscular tail there. Excellent detail with the scales, nice small scales there, and the teeth done nice. The inside of the mouth, it's got that nice wet look, and yeah, pretty cool. So if once again, if we're going to go by the 30-foot scale, I'll bring our Yutyrannus back out to play the matchup game, and yeah, that they kind of work. Yutyrannus is longer than this guy, which should be cool. So this guy, if I go with the head turn measurement of 9.5, that puts the Qianzhousaurus, I'm trying to butcher it, seeing that Q throws me off, at about 27 point whatever feet. So that means the Yutyrannus should be a little bit bigger, and it reflects here with the models. So my requisite for being in scale is satisfied. So here we've got A-Shu, the Qianzhousaurus. Keeping it right here in China, we have Qianzhousaurus, or Qianzhousaurus. I'm going to go with the way it's spelled. It's Qianzhousaurus. Qianzhousaurus, say it fast, Qianzhousaurus. The Tarbosaurus. Tarbosaurus, that means alarming lizard, and I'm quite sure there were many alarmed prey animals whenever this cat came around. You can see how very similar to Tyrannosaurus Rex it is. It's so close to Tyrannosaurus Rex in its appearance that at one time they were thought to basically be the same species, with the exception of it being in China, and Tyrannosaurs are North American. There turns out there are some other slight distinctions. They were not as large as Tyrannosaurus Rex. Tarbosaurs grew to about 36 feet. This model measures in at 12.5 inches, 4.5 inches off the ground, and at the 135 scale, that estimates come out to right at 36.5 feet it would be. So this is definitely more or less perfectly in scale with 135, so you know I'm loving that. As you can see here, this is a chunky boy. Turning here, you can see more of that thickness. So now you can also understand why very little distinction from a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I said it lived in China. I didn't mention previously about the Qianzhousaurus, how long ago it lived. They both lived about 70 million years ago, late Cretaceous. So that's the other thing. Tarbosaurs actually were around before Tyrannosaurus Rex actually came about, which in a way makes sense considering that Tyrannosaurs were continually getting larger as the Cretaceous period moved along, till you got to Tyrannosaurus Rex, who, if you go by the latest findings, Scotty, that model, I believe, is nearly 43 feet long. So, yeah. So, yeah, they were getting bigger. And I'll get to the Tyrannosaurus Rex momentarily. But this is about Tarbosaurus. Another thing, another reason why I didn't mention with the Qianzhousaurus is because they existed the same time and more or less in the same areas as Tarbosaurs. Believe it or not, they cohabitated, even though the Qianzhousaurus was smaller, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tarbosaurs preyed upon them if they could. You know, if they could catch one unawares, it's obvious that the Qs were being smaller and not as heavily built, were quicker. But anything can happen. So I'm sure that on occasion Tarbosaurs fed on the Qianzhousaurus, and yeah, but you know, that's why it's called apex predator. There are other predators in the region. I just found it very unusual that two species of Tyrannosaurids coexisted in the same ecology. So that's something. But getting here to A-Shu, or Tarbosaurus, as always, they have the articulated jaw, so you can see he can do his mouth with. He's got the binocular vision and got those head crests there, and as I stated before, very chunky boy. And look at those forearms. Remember, I stated earlier how they are getting smaller and smaller. Look at this guy. Look how small his forearms are. In fact, that's another little known fact. Tarbosaurs forearms by scale, by dimension, you know what I'm saying, were smaller in comparison to a Tyrannosaurus Rex of equal size. If you got a 36-foot long Tyrannosaurus Rex, its arms would be longer than Tarbosaurus, which a lot of people don't know. You know, Tyrannosaurus Rex gets a lot of flack for having the small forelimbs. You see, still, you know, as is typical with Tyrannosaurus, he's got the two claws. But yeah, so that is A-Shu, the Tarbosaurus. I should note that I do have another Chinese Tyrannosaur that's basically new, came out this year, 2022. I just haven't opened him up yet. That will be the first Therapod review that I do. That's just, you know, independent individual from this overview here. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of that, please like, share, and subscribe to this new channel so we can get it built up, and leave comments below. I love it. The algorithm loves it. We all love it. So let's do it. All right. So moving on. Now we're back in North America, and what we see before us is our guy Logan. We'll call him Lil Logan because he is listed by PNSO as a Nanotyrannus, which a few decades ago, when the fossils were discovered, it was thought to be a species of Tyrannosaur that was, you know, just small, which I remember that time. It didn't really make sense to me that, you know, there would be Tyrannosaurs this small in the late Cretaceous. I should mention that it was in the late Cretaceous, the same time that Tyrannosaurus Rex itself was around, in the same environment. So that really didn't make sense to me. Now, if they had stated that, you know, there were times where dinosaurs migrated to certain areas that eventually got cut off from like the mainland, and they were like islands and on there. So as nature would do, in order for these life forms to survive, they got shrunk down. So there are cases of species of animals, including sauropods, believe it or not, that were miniatures of the original species. And if they had mentioned that, if they had stated that, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But that wasn't the case. This creature existed in the same habitat that true Tyrannosaurus Rex was existing in. So that, to me, it just didn't make sense. And then, you know, years later, it was determined that Yutyrannus wasn't a different species at all. It was merely a juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So especially when you consider just looking at this model, look how small the forelimbs are, and just, you know, it looks like a miniature Tyrannosaurus Rex. And it's come out that that's indeed what I was about to say Yutyrannus, what Nanotyrannus really is. So there really is no such thing as Nanotyrannus. It's merely juvie Tyrannosaurus Rex, to be precise. Despite his small size, as you can see by just me holding him, how small he is, he still comes with the articulated jaw, as is typical with PNSO Therapods. and they didn't skimp on making the interior of the mouth look realistic, and the teeth painted, and giving this little guy binocular vision. And with the crests, it's got the nice paint going on. And yeah, there's really not much more I can say about our little guy Logan here. So how about we bring on the main event, that being Wilson 2.0 / Winter Wilson himself, Tyrannosaurus Rex. You all know what it is. He really doesn't need any further introduction. This was the latest iteration of Tyrannosaurus Rex by PNSO. Well, if you discount Andrea, the female sitting Tyrannosaurus Rex, as you can see, he is looking pretty cool there. The first iteration looked great, but nothing. It pales before this particular model right there. You can see that he's based on the latest, what they've considered what a Tyrannosaurus Rex would have looked like, chunky. And they look at those forelimbs. If you can recall when I spoke about Tarbosaurus, and I'll do a comparison just a little bit later with them all. Of course, that Tarbosaurus had their forelimbs were actually smaller than a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And just looking at this model, I can see that the Rex's forelimbs are a bit more robust than the Tarbosaurus was. But yeah, as you can see, once again, it's with all Therapods with PNSO, articulated jaw, which is cool. He's got some nice length to him, which he should be, considering that he's among the largest predators to have ever existed. Probably only eclipsed by a Giganotosaurus, and most definitely a Carcharodontosaurus, and of course a Spinosaurus. So yeah, this model is, if I remember my measurements, Wilson came in at about 13.5 inches long from snout to tail tip, and 5 inches high. So like I said, big boy. And if you do your calculations based on a 135 scale, that puts Wilson at a little over 39 feet long, which is crazy accurate, because this model is based off of the Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton that's in New York's American Museum of Natural History, and that critter is 39 feet long. So once again, my itch for 135 scale accuracy has been scratched. So yeah, a little bit more about Tyrannosaurus Rex. As I stated previously, if you go by Scotty, which is one of the latest finds, and I believe he's, I don't know if the Chicago Museum, they've got a big model. I don't know if that's based on Scotty or based on Sue. I forget. Sue was the previous largest Tyrannosaurus Rex ever found, coming in at just under 42 feet long. Scotty eclipses her by being almost 43 feet. So the great thing about Scotty is Scotty put the Tyrannosaurus Rex back in contention up against Giganotosaurs and Carcharodontosaurs, especially Giganotosaurs. I think it's just we can forego and conclude that Carcharodontosaurs are longer, because they actually have estimates closing in on 45 feet long. Gigas, which have fragmentary fossils, they estimate that it may have been up to 44 feet long. But once again, they're just they're spitballing with that. We've got enough mostly complete Tyrannosaur skeletons that we know that these guys averaged 40 feet minimum. So thanks to Scotty tacking on another 3 feet, T-Rex may have regained its title. I mean, if you exclude the Spinosaurus, because those being specialized predators, you know, being there at the top of the largest terrestrial carnivore title, despite what Jurassic Park Dominion is trying to tell you. But yeah, so that's cool right there. So let's put Logan with what I'm going to consider his papa right there. And Logan, I measured Logan in at about almost 7 inches, about 6.35 inches long. So if you go, you do your 1/35 scale measurements, that puts Logan just over 19 feet long. So this is a juvenile Tyrannosaur, right? A kid, and it still was as large or larger than a lot of the other predators roaming around. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. But hey, it pays to be the king, I guess. You could be the prince and still be something serious. So there you have it. Tyrannosaurus Rex lived about 69 to 66 million years ago, right there close to the end of the Cretaceous period, one of the last remaining dinosaurs. We know that it lived with creatures such as Ankylosaurus, definitely Triceratops, you know, and a few different hadrosaurids, which I'm sure it fed on mostly because they were probably easier to take down, despite the fact that a lot of hadrosaurs rivaled Tyrannosaurus Rex in size, but they were more or less defenseless. You know, they would only have the ability to run and maybe their own strength to try to ward off for Tyrannosaurus Rex, which just looking at Wilson there, that's not going to really do you too good. Between that skull, those bone-crushing jaws and teeth, which by the way has is still recorded as the strongest bite force in recorded history. So yeah, once it gets a hold of you, it's basically a done deal. You know what I'm saying? You got that. It's got the binocular vision. It has the olfactories. It also holds the title of the second longest range to be able to smell things from afar. The only creature that outclasses that is the modern era turkey vulture. That's about it. Other than that, T-Rex could smell something that was freshly killed, dead, or dying for miles away and start heading off into that direction to get to it. There's been a lot of speculation that Tyrannosaurus Rex was more of a scavenger than a hunter, but in whatever case, it could do whatever it wanted because it was the biggest bad of its time and in its area. So if it wanted, I'm sure it was taking meals from other critters, so that's how life goes. Life is rough. Anyway, let's get Logan out of there for right now and get our Tarbosaurus in the picture, so you can see the similarities and the differences. And like I said, they've really scaled these two beautifully. The Tarbosaurus is slightly smaller than the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and yeah, they look good. But you can see the similarities. You see that A-Shu is pretty hefty himself, and yeah, it's pretty nice. They look very nice together. Pulling our Tarbosaurus out and sticking in the Qianzhousaurus. Once again, if this was to be estimated at the 21-foot scale, then this guy is totally out of scale. But if you go by the later estimates, with the creature being close to 30 feet long, this works out perfectly. So I like that being the sticker of the scale that I am. And then of course our final Tyrannosaurid to compare will be the first one that we started off with, and that's our Yutyrannus, the feathered tyrant there. And they scale beautifully too. Remember, the Yutyrannus is estimated to be about 30 feet, so that works beautifully right here. So, and you see the differences with the forelimbs. You see that the Yutyrannus has the 3 clawed forelimbs, and pretty nice sized, as opposed to Wilson's very small, but not as small as A-Shu the Tarbosaurus, which I should have pointed that out when I had him up there. So A-Shu's making a return appearance, and let's see if I can get so you can see the forelimbs. As you can see, A-Shu's forelimbs are smaller than Wilson's. So yeah, so it actually holds the distinction. The only thing that A-Shu can lay claim is that his forelimbs are longer than Carnotaurus or Majungasaurus forelimbs. So yeah, Abelisaurs that had the absolute smallest forelimbs in the theropod families. So yeah, there you have it. I'll have one more comparison for you, since I haven't put him away yet, and that would be Lucas, our Giganotosaurus. Let's see if I can get him in the picture. I'm going to move Wilson back a little bit so you could see. And both of these are, I should have mentioned, Wilson is a museum line dinosaur, and Lucas the Giganotosaurus was also a museum line, one of the first, very early on. And you could see they've got the size differences right there. Clearly Lucas is larger, longer than Tyrannosaurus Rex. It did have one distinction. Its skull was definitely longer, so PNSO definitely got that right, as I show you this way, that Lucas's skull is longer, even though Wilson's skull is thicker and more robust. So I got him out of the frame again. There we go. That looks better. So there you have it. You've got Lucas the Giganotosaurus next to Wilson 2.0, Winter Wilson, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. And so there we have it. We've gone through the 5 PNSO Tyrannosaurs that I own, and going from our left and rounding out to our right, we've got Yutyrannus, we've got the Qianzhousaurus, we have Logan, the juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex, but officially classified as a Nanotyrannus. Behind him, we've got Tyrannosaurus Rex itself, and then bringing up the rear on our far right, we have the Tarbosaurus. And as I stated, I've got another Tyrannosaur brand new to review, and I will do that. That's going to be my next review, and then I'll follow that up with another march of species. I don't know which yet. I'm leaning towards the ceratopsians, but it could be stegosaurs or ankylosaurs or hadrosaurs. But I think I'm going to follow up with ceratopsians. So be at the ready for that. Stay tuned for that. And if you want to be notified when that happens, hit the bell so you can be notified. And then you'll see after I upload a video. And of course, please like, please share, please subscribe so we can get this party started. I'm brand spanking new, so I know it's going to be slow moving, but we're going to keep moving. And this, as I stated in my first video, this channel is devoted to all things dinosaur and other prehistoric animals. So it'll be more than likely mostly PNSO. That's my jam right now, but I have critters from GR Toys. I've got Rebor, I've got Eofauna. I've got the Giganotosaurus that came out, I believe, early last year or maybe the end of 2020. I finally got around to getting one of those simply because it looks good, and it scales just a little bit better than Lucas, the PNSO Giganotosaurus does. Lucas is slightly, just slightly oversized. You know, it's supposed to be more or less, in according to some, larger than the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but I don't think it's supposed to be massively larger. Not that Lucas was massively larger, but you can kind of sort of tell he was definitely taller than Wilson here, and from snout to tail, he was decidedly longer. I believe Lucas came in at 15 inches compared to Wilson's 13 and a half. So I believe the Eofauna is like maybe 14 inches, but I won't know until I have that model in hand. Anyway, take one last look. These are the Tyrannosaurs. These were the Therapods, and it was the march of the Therapods. And this channel is Ruckosaurus Rex. Thanks for watching. Please come back. Take care.